Welcome to this week's episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast, where experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based in Kingston upon Thames are invited on to share their story with us. I'm your host, Amyr Rocha-Lima.
This week's episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast is brought to you by Holland Hahn Wills, a financial planning and wealth management firm based in Kingston upon Thames. Holland Hahn Wills specialises in retirement planning for senior professionals and successful business owners. Visit hhw-uk.com to start feeling more relaxed and confident about your financial future.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast. I'm joined today by Jay Ludgrove. Jay is the Managing Director of GLProUK, a content creation company based in Surbiton. What's unique about Jay is how he wears his heart on his sleeve, showing his potential customers what works on social media by creating and producing engaging content for his own firm. And be sure to listen to the end, where Jay shares with us why there's a big difference between using social media and marketing through social media, and what small businesses can do to create their own content creation strategy. So whether you're interested in knowing more about content creation and digital marketing, or would like to know more about what it takes to run a successful independent business, then I hope you enjoy this episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast. Welcome, Jay Ludgrove, to the Inside Kingston Podcast. Jay, I'm really excited about this conversation because during lockdown, a lot of small businesses have, of course, been unable to trade normally, but many of those same businesses have been really active on social media. And I think our listeners can learn a lot from your expertise in this area. But to kick off this conversation, I'd like to go back in time, if that's okay. So, Jay, where did you grow up?
Right in the township. I grew up in Surbiton my whole life. Well, my parents are split up, so my father's lived in Surbiton for my whole life, and my mother lived in in the middle of London, and then she moved to Wales as well. So I've kind of lived most parts of the UK as my mum's moved around, who's Scottish, so I've also lived in Scotland. But the whole time have always had a home here in Surbiton.
Oh, awesome. And what did you study after secondary school?
Study. So after secondary school, very, very briefly, I tried sixth form. Back then, I was very much a musician and had lofty sights fixed on taking our band and doing something. Did very little higher education, to be honest. After school, did a short stint in sixth form. Worked as a KP briefly in the Hotel Antoinette in the edges of Kingston, and then went back to Weybridge at Brooklands College, which is where I actually met my fellow founder and my best friends and family now from going there, again, for a very short period of time. In my household, when I grew up, it was always, what's your job, right? And my mum's job was like, my job is being a mum, and I've got to, and I have to go to the office. And it was always, what's your job? School. Great. As soon as school was finished, the question was, what's your job? So I've always just gone to work. And at the point when college happened and people started saying wonderful things to me, like, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Well, as soon as they said that to a 17-year-old Jay, there was a J-shaped hole in the door and I was gone. So I spent a lot of time in like the music rec center or whatever, but very quickly kind of bummed out of there and started working in offices in London in customer service and in IT.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's interesting how I definitely want to pull some threads on that throughout this conversation, because I think from preparing for this conversation, that very much influenced your sales mentality as it stands today, right?
In a big way. So I didn't get into sales for an awful long time. When I started working very early, so I was working full time from 17. I was working in customer service in IT, and did that for a long time, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. A lot of my career in customer service, people will be saying to me, hey, you should be a salesman. You can talk and you can, so come and work in sales. But I was always really scared of the whole target thing. What if you don't do well that month? That was too scary for me. I'd never done it, but just the concept scared me too much. To what if you lose your job if you have a bad month or something? I finally did move into sales, and I'm actually really glad that I took that journey through customer service into sales, because I don't approach it in a way a lot of some salespeople do. I'd much prefer to fix a problem than I would sell a solution. If I can't fix a problem, I don't want to sell anything. And that's always come from kind of a background in customer service where you are helping people.
Yeah, that's, again, we're kindred spirits. It very much is my journey from customer service inside an asset management company to then the sales team within that asset management company. And just like you, naturally, I think the folks that did take that route, they're looking to help the businesses with which they then have solutions to be able to help them with. But I never led with a solution. I led with the question, the open-ended question, then shutting up and just listening to what the problems were that perhaps our suite of products could help with. And it held me in very good stead.
The wonderful thing that customer service trained people have when moving into sales is all of the skills to find out what they need to close a sale, but maybe none of the skills to ask, just to ask for the sale. Okay, you don't know about that, but actually you've learned to listen properly. You've learned you've got two ears and one mouth, and if you shut up, you can close that call quicker. You can get onto your next list of calls, or you can solve that person's problem. I used to work for an insurance company in Tolworth Tower about 3 or 4 years. And, it was just fixing the same 10 problems over and over and over again for a myriad of different clients. But understanding how to listen to people to know which one of those 10 they are is my skill in sales, because now I know that there's 10 pitches as opposed to there's 10 products that can fix them. It's the same thing. It's just you have to teach customer service, people with customer service only experience, how to ask for a sale and to make sure that they do ask for a sale.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So bringing this conversation to the present, can you tell us a little bit about your business today?
Yes, absolutely. So GLProUK are a West Molesey-based content creation agency. So we work with brands and businesses all over the world where we help them create content, and that's kind of like a word that everyone with a man bun and no socks will throw around constantly. Content. What do I mean? Right? What do you mean content? Stuff. Okay, I mean marketing stuff. I mean a written post. I mean a video. I mean a podcast design. What are you going to post onto social media? That's what we create. So we work with brands and businesses about how to do that, because everybody wants to be in a position where, I can release a video every day. That is 100% very, very good for your engagement and for pushing your brand and business out onto social media. But who has the time? Right? Who's got time to make a video every day? I run a content creation agency. I do not have that kind of time. So what we try to do is work with businesses to say, let's do a content creation day, or let's do a content creation event. There's no events at the moment, I hear you say. There is. Any virtual event, any long form thing that you're doing for half an hour. Most of the world started doing webinars about 3 months ago. I've seen an upturn of about 1,000% in webinar invites. A webinar could be an event. So you can, from a webinar, you've got half an hour of a conversation, much like this podcast. You can then take out a couple of quotes. You could literally take out a couple of quotes which you could write, which means you could say, Jay said blah, blah, blah about podcasting, and Amyr followed up with blah, blah, blah about something sensible, right? That could be your post, meaning that from that one webinar, you could walk away with a post, or maybe two from that, just a written text post. Great. Well, if you take that to what we do, we would take that webinar and create audio from it, or video from it, a quote square from it, design different images, because the way that you market yourself successfully right now is content, right? It's content marketing. And what that means is just having the ammunition, just having the marketing ammunition to be able to post once a week or twice a week, or whatever that means to you, or whatever your frequency is. To be consistent, you need to have some sort of plan. To have a plan, you need to have something in your hand that you can plan out, and that would be video or audio or design, because those are the things which engage people most on social media channels.
Yeah, that's incredible, Jay. And in fact, the way you've positioned it there already, I'm sure our listeners are thinking, well, actually, that's attainable, and perhaps not even have never even thought of the structure which you very kindly already proposed for us. And that's a thread I want to pull with you in this conversation, because
Cool.
you and I have mentioned the fact that we have a background in sales, and I'm very much still proud of selling in my current role. Although, of course, today it's very different. I work as a financial planner and as a wealth manager. The only thing I'm selling is selling the client on the concept of making the most of their money and buying a service which will allow them to make the most of their money and just live their most fulfilling life possible with the money they have. So it's a completely different game to perhaps 10 years ago, 13 years ago, even, when I had an actual product to sell, right? Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because a lot of folks are using social media out there and perhaps even creating social media content, but they're forgetting that the end goal to all that content should be to drive eyeballs to their firm so they can actually generate sales. Could you talk to us a little bit about that from your experience?
You don't need to sell when you're posting on social media. Why? Because people know that if you're posting from a business that you're selling something. Of course you are, right? That's not interesting. I don't buy a Coca-Cola because I see that it's available for £1 in a shop. I buy it because it looks delicious in that glass that they keep putting in front of me with condensation running down the side, right? I get it because of the brand awareness of like, what do you want? A Coke, as opposed to a Pepsi, or, and that's why. So you don't need to sell. And now the reason I bring that up first is that makes it easier. It's very hard to constantly say, hey, GL Pro is selling a new podcast offer. Come now. It's just not interesting. It's certainly not how I buy. I don't buy anything like that. I don't necessarily, maybe an advert. I might see an advert with a great offer on it and say, hey, actually, that's for me. But most of the time, I'm going to follow a brand. So because you don't have to sell, then talk about the problem. What do you fix? Like, if you're doing something on a regular basis, then you're fixing problems on a regular basis. That's what I care about as a buyer. The thing which just went wrong with me, that's the thing I care about. I don't care what you sell. And that's the first thing I say to all of our salespeople. Nobody cares that you're trying to sell something, right? It doesn't matter that it's the end of the month and you have to hit a target. That is why people don't buy. What you should be going out and just, having the conversation of, when you need me, this is what I can do. I can help you with this when you have this problem. If you don't have this problem, I'm not going to be pushing you. So the second thing to do on social media, and it sounds obvious, but be social. Right? So if you want more engagement on a post, if you're going to post out today at 3 p.m. And you're going to post just a text post talking about something to do with your industry, if you want people to see that, let's talk about algorithms. You need to be seen for people to see your content. So before you post that post, why not spend 10 minutes scrolling through your feed, liking more or less every comment which is relevant to yourselves, and every post which is relevant to you and your business, and also commenting on them. And here's why. If you comment on a post which does very, very well, and your comment becomes the top comment on that post, you are doing as well as that post. Right? It's as simple as that. It's called brand hacking. It's a very micro bit of brand hacking, but by jumping on piggybacking onto that post and adding an interesting, oh, I agree with that, but have you thought about, or I totally disagree, what we found is something that you can start a conversation with on that post will allow you to be out there more. By hitting like, we've all seen this on our own social media feeds. When I'm scrolling through the feed, I will see, oh, Amyr's like this. Okay, cool. What is that? Well, as soon as that pops up to your entire network. So they've seen that Jay likes this, Jay's here, Jay likes that. That's more opportunity for people to click onto my name. But also because they've seen me in their feed, when I post some content, it's going to be put in front of them. So go out, spend 15 minutes before you post something and engage. Just engage with your feed and talk about it. But in the social part of being social, and this is very, very important, if you're going to do anything and post any piece of content and somebody comments on it, have the decency to respond.
Engage back.
It'd be the equivalent of walking into a bar and saying, hey, everyone, I'm good looking. I got a great job and I got a fantastic car outside and I'm looking for a date. And you stand at the bar and someone comes up to you and says, hey, that all sounds great. How are you? and you just blank them. Right? That'd be crazy, right? Why did you go to the trouble of walking into the bar in the first place? Let's talk about the same thing on social media. If you're going to post, but also ask questions, the more comments that happen on a post provides better engagement and means that there's more out there for the algorithm, so it will be seen more.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, Jay. I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because what you're getting at there, if you don't mind me saying, is having an actual strategy towards using social media to generate more business or more customers or more awareness of your organization, your charity, your local cause, or whatever it is. And that is something that people have to go into it with that front of mind, right? Rather than use social media as some entertainment or as a bit of fun. That's two completely different things when it comes to social media. One being a user, as in just enjoying seeing other people's posts for fun, and the other is actually being social and engaged to generate more awareness for your brand. That's fantastic.
And your brand is a really good comment there, Amyr, because what is your brand? And I'm talking about the sales exec out there right now working for a business when there's 20 other sales execs. What's your brand? Do you have a personal brand? Do you share some of the content that, for instance, on LinkedIn, do you share some of the content that your company makes occasionally? Great. What does that mean when you're contacting people? They look up and they go, Jay Ludgrove, okay, junior sales exec, and I got nothing. I don't know who they are. Building your personal brand is good for the company, first and foremost. And it's something we talk to a lot of business owners about, helping them understand that it's okay to invest in your people to build their brand. Even if they leave and you've spent all that time and effort to them to build their brand, it's better for your business to be full of people who are out there engaging and have their own personal brand and show who they are than it is to not. Even if those people move on and that gets them better jobs, hey, great, well done. That's a mitzvah. That's gone out into the world, and that's a great thing, right? But as a salesperson or as a customer service person, when I'm speaking to anyone, I'll flick up LinkedIn. Hey, who is this person? They did that. That is okay. If I connect with people on LinkedIn, I don't necessarily put a note anymore, because if one click and you can see what I'm like, you can see that I wave my hands a lot in the air when I talk, and I swear a lot at the wrong time. You can see that all in videos and know who I am. Immediately decide I don't want to work with that guy. That's not the kind of person I want to. Or I do want to work with that guy, and this is what they do.
Yeah, I find that amazing. Jay, let me pick your brains on your own firm's social media content strategy and your own personal branding strategy. For example, you run a live chat show on LinkedIn called The Jay Show. How did you come up with that idea, and what is it all about?
So the Jay Show was my team taking the mick out of me, because I said I was going to release a video every day. I'm going to release a video every day for 6 months. So it's going to be the Jay Show. And within about 2 weeks, 10 days tops, this is impossible. I have a job to do. I can't record a video every day. Excuse me. The Jay Show came from, though, I was accepted to LinkedIn Live's beta program. So LinkedIn Live is now something that's pushed out to a smaller group within the LinkedIn community, and they're testing the platform. It's got its bugs, and we're having to use third-party programs to actually live stream. But it gave me the opportunity to contact business or LinkedIn experts and LinkedIn influencers about something interesting. It's not, these people have podcasts. They've been on podcasts. This is something new. Now, the fact is we use that content as the top of a stream of content. And I'll get into, as you mentioned, our content strategy, because the Jay Show is a big part of it. It goes back to what I was saying beforehand about having an event. Having a virtual event has allowed us to have constant content be released. But the Jay Show is a live interview show. I keep it about half hour, 45 minutes, where I sit down with LinkedIn and social media influencers, business influencers, and talk to them about how they're using this tool for free to get out there. I don't really speak to many paid ads experts, because I'd like to speak to the people who have done it from nothing, with nothing, and have now seen great success. Because I think right now, especially with all the traditional means of marketing, exhibitions and conferences and roundtables all not being available to us, people should be leaning into what they can get back from social media, because it's probably cheaper and ultimately better in the long run to actually build your brand and get your business in front of more eyes.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I urge our listeners to check it out. I think it's brilliant. I think the production, it goes without saying, it's obviously professional quality production, the graphics and everything else. And actually, even for somebody who does their own marketing experiments with my firm, I'm the guy that comes up with the events that we do or how we market ourselves in social media. It's invaluable to just understand how some of these experts think about things. So no, it's absolutely great.
Well, the interesting thing is you say about the content is now professional. Is look professional looking, and thank you very much. My team certainly try awfully hard to make sure that's the case. However, if you go to say my Instagram feed or my LinkedIn feed, and it's Jay Ludgrove at anywhere, you will see basically that I wasn't doing that until this year. End of last year, beginning of this year. Beforehand, what I did is I made the commitment to release at least a video. I started with the Daily Show. I started saying I'd do it every single day. I failed miserably at that and said, okay, well, I can get one done a week. There was zero production. I released those every once a week, talked about stuff that we did as a business. They weren't great. They were shaky. I didn't have a tripod. And, over a period of about a year and you saw that some bits get a little bit better. I got a tripod, or I got some lights like I have on my desk at all times now. And certain little bits of production got better. But I still didn't put it through the mill of the company of what we do. I was just trying it out to see what I can do for free. And that is my biggest takeaway, is that you don't need to use a company like us to be able to get a return on marketing. You can create it yourself. Everyone has a production studio and a camera person in their pocket. Your smartphone is incredibly useful. For free, you can have an editing tool if your phone doesn't have it built in. Right? So record videos. And if the hardest thing in then, because now I've taken out all of the things which are going to get in your way, right? All of the production stuff's now taken care of. You have it all on your phone. There's nothing you can't do. The hardest thing is coming up with the content to talk about. And for that, sit down, talk to everyone else in your business and say, what do we want to sell? Like, what are we trying to push? What's our messaging? Oh, we got a new office. Cool. Oh, we've got this new online thing. Great. Let's talk about that. And then sit down for half a day and record five 1-minute videos. Why a minute? Because you don't really have to say anything at all in a minute. You can basically say what the proposition is and then kind of sign off. 60 seconds. If you're chatty like me, push it to 2 minutes. Don't go too far over that. You don't give yourself too much time. And my last biggest tip, when you record those 10 videos and you film them, 5 videos, have 5 t-shirts or 5 shirts. Change them, make them all different colors. Otherwise, your social media feed will look all the same. But that is something you can do completely for free on your own. I reckon realistically, it will take you a day to record and edit if you spend an awful lot of time on edit. And that includes the pre-prep of working out the questions. So in one day, you could create 5 videos when you've never ever released a video before, and know for a fact that we now have a video a week for 5 weeks. That gives me 5 weeks to do this again. And I could only do one if I want to. If something catches my mind. But if I did it again in 3 weeks or 2 weeks and did another 5, I'm good for 10 weeks now. I can forget about this silly marketing thing. I can schedule it and know it's happening. See the returns from my business when I'm putting it out there, and not have to every day be like, we sell really cool things. Because no one cares about that. You can sit and give your marketing the time it deserves by sitting down for one short day, and then you can actually put together something which will give you a return.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Jay, when I set out the Inside Kingston podcast, my goal was to create a platform for local businesses, local business owners, entrepreneurs, community leaders to have a platform where they could tell their story and tell us in the local community what they and their business are all about. And what you said there is basically a framework for them to, maybe alongside their Inside Kingston podcast episode, just find a pillar in which they can pull content from for several weeks in advance. And then, as you said, in between that, they find another pillar, another question they're getting frequently asked, or another product they have that they want to tell the world about. And they can find the content in there to push that content creating further ahead. And they're always working with a buffer. They're never having to work on the day on the thing that's going to be released. Super powerful.
And when you're trying to come up with those ideas of content, turn to the places where you consume content. You listen to Amyr's podcast. Brilliant. How many episodes are there now, Amyr?
46.
46 podcasts. Brilliant. So that's 46 different shows you could go through with local business owners who are talking about literally stuff within their industry that might not be relevant, but you could look through and be like, hey, actually what they said isn't relevant to me, but I could say it this way. There's one idea I've got. That's where I go out. You don't need to come up and reinvent the wheel. You could search on Google for what you're looking for. Search for what your clients look for, and whatever you think that they would search for it, see what comes up. Hey, I agree with that. That's an idea that I'm going to go and create my own piece of content on. But a podcast like this is gold dust to go and find those snippets of bit of content and ideas and concepts and mindsets that you want to then post out on your own content.
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. Jay, what are some of the key business lessons that you've learned throughout your life?
Well, I always say, I was talking about my mother earlier on the podcast, and she used to say to me, she's like, you didn't come with a manual. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm working this out on the fly. And I feel very much the same as a managing director. It's weird when you, as business owners tend, from what I've seen, either tend to come from a finance mind or a sales background, like finance background or sales background, traditionally. Tons of other business owners out there. But nothing in sales really gives you any experience to run a company. So I was good at sales because I was good at selling, not because I was good at running a team. In fact, I was useless at it. Not because I was understanding of the numbers and why we're doing this. No, I just sold and sell. So the biggest lessons for me have been is teaching myself how to learn on the fly and how to learn consistently and understand that I just don't know what I'm doing. We've been running this company for 5 years and I'll still have to turn around to my accountant and be like, okay, let's go through a crew one more time or something silly that we've gone over 1,000 times, but I just have an awful lot going on that I've learned and still continue to learn. So that for me, the best ways that I've found to learn have been, and it's different for everybody, but for me, it's been podcasts, it's been YouTube. I can search for the question I have, and I'm very dyslexic. And as we spoke about earlier, I didn't do a whole lot of education. I'm not necessarily someone who can just sit and read something and be like, got it, I understand, and then go and put it into application. And those people, for instance, my business partner and best friend, Tony Gordon, is amazing at that. He always says to me, did you read it? And I'm like, yeah, I clicked on it. I don't know. But for me, I need to learn from somebody. Like I need to see someone do it and make a mistake and then, okay, I won't make that mistake and that's better for me. So over the last 5 years, I have utilized YouTube and podcasts so much to get to the point, even if it just gets me to a point as a business owner where I'm like, well, there's definitely something I don't know more of. Now, do I confirm everything? Absolutely everything on the .gov site or with my accountants? Of course I do. But where do I go and learn and sound like I know what I'm talking about when I sit in those conversations? I've educated myself from things like YouTube and podcasts.
Yeah, and the thing is, for folks listening to the conversation up until this point, I think they're all find that they've been doing that over the last at least couple of years. Because I'm with you, Jay. There is very little that you can ask Google, and YouTube being part of Google, of course, that you won't find an answer for. And then it's down to us as the person that has the context, the professional context for which we're asking that question, to eliminate the noise. So I'm with you. The advantage of working with a professional like you, for example, if somebody's searching how to set up a social media strategy, or to work with somebody like me if they're trying to figure out, do I have enough to retire, is that we get rid of the noise for them. And so do absolutely any other professional that are experts in their area. But I'm with you 100%. Google, YouTube, podcasts are just such an amazing learning mechanism.
Well, and now we're all informed buyers. It's a wonderful time to be alive because I'm an informed buyer. If I'm going to come to you for financial planning and if I'm going to come to you with my money, then I'm going to come informed. I'm going to know some things. I'm going to say, hey, is this a percentage thing I can get, pal? Is this, should I move my money into stocks and bonds? I just watched Wall Street. That sounds like, lots of money. I don't know, right? But I'm going to come with my own ideas and concepts. And hopefully what we can do now, and we've been able to do for the last 10, 15 years, is specifically say, here are the 5 people that I've found in my area, and I'm going to choose this person because. Yeah. And that reason right there is why content marketing is so important. because go back to normal, just traditional sales. I don't want to talk about likes and hashtags and stuff, right? People buy from people.
Yeah.
Always have, always will, right? People buy from people, and every business owner knows that. Why is our plumbing company better than their plumbing company? Because we have Billy on the phone and Jenny's out there doing, great work, right? That's why we're great. Well, then let's show people Billy and Jenny and get them out there being the fantastic people they are. Let's people see that before they work for you. Work with you. That's a wonderful time to be able to push things out.
Yeah, big time. Jay, when you look back at your career journey to date, what are you most proud of?
This company. I'm certainly this company. Actually, no. I'll take a step back. This company has been a wonderful learning curve. It's a huge challenge, but I don't know whether it's quite over. So I'll take that out of the mix. The previous company I worked for, I went back right into the bottom of the sales team and started in lead generation and worked my way up through the team, and then left that company and started GLProUK. During which time, there was then the salespeople within that company had left, and there was a change in the guard and such, and they were suddenly left without a salesperson. Where we were as a company for GLPro, we've been running for a few years at this point. I was able to say, cool, we're running, we're good. We have money coming in the door. I don't need to be hitting the phones and getting involved every day. I was able to go back to that company and help out that business and support them in their sales, basically, and keep it going while they rebuilt the sales team. The achievement during that 18-month period, I was able to close over $1 million in revenue for the company, which kept very much the lights on, but also put them in a position where they can don't have to worry about that side of sales and can employ other sales team who can take the leap and move up and get their sales pipeline together. So the proudest moment for me was actually being able to go back and support someone who's been a mentor to me, support someone who made me the person, gave me the opportunity and made me the person that I am today, and allowed me to work my way through up the sales team and, put up with me when I was far too much like I'd been in a union. We should get 60 minutes for lunch. Like, come on, man, just get the work done, right? Put up with me through that whole process, and I was able to return that not only while I was working there, but in sales and to do my job and do it well, but also to come back and support that business and full of people I love, just still today loving people. It's just great people to be able to come back and use the skills I learned within that business to then support them through a hard time. Just a wonderful, wonderful achievement.
That's amazing. What next for you and your business? Are there any projects in the pipeline that you can tell us about? Well,
so I'm always on a big planning person, right? I don't do vision boards or whatever, but I'm always big on planning and putting something together. So when we started the business, I sat down with Tony, who is my best friend. He was the singer in my band, smartest man in the room, in any room I've ever been in, and I said, what do you want to do? We're going to do this. We're going to start a production company. We're going to make cool content. I love that. Great. But like 5 years, 10 years. The one thing he said without a single beat, a single moment before he responded was, oh, easy. Direct Transformers 17. Okay. All right, Tone. I mean, we have no experience in production. We don't know anyone in Hollywood. Sounds difficult, but it's only on Transformers 5. That does give us some time. So since then, to be honest, we have actually been... I like that idea. I like what's known as a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And Transformers 17 is certainly big and hairy. So what we've been working on over the last few years is how to move into the US. We already have quite a lot of business coming out of the East Coast, which is great. And we've always worked with the US with regards to podcasting and content creation. What we're working on is to move that over to the West Coast and specifically to California, because we're not going to make a movie unless we're in Hollywood. So we rebranded the company. Again, this may be a BHAG which never happens, but why not put in the building blocks? So rebranded the company to GLProUK. So we're in a good position in some time to start GLPro US. And don't worry, all you guys out there trying to steal my websites, we've already got them and we've been paying them for a long time. And the idea to create content and work within the movie industry and doing the same thing within the UK. It also make sense for us as a business. As you mentioned, we constantly are trying to upgrade the content we create and the design and the production value and all those good bits. What better place to do that than in film? And I'm also a huge cinephile. I've got I'm on IMDb after being exec producer on one movie, and I love the idea of having that as a nice big long list of great B movies.
Exciting times ahead.
Hopefully, we shall see.
As we start to wrap up, I'd like to ask you a few quick fire questions that our listeners are always interested in. So, Jay, what do you do to relax outside of the office?
Pre-COVID, I like to go to the gym about 4 times a week. I found that was a huge de-stressor. During COVID, same sort of thing, at home and try and get a workout in, but it hasn't been quite as easy. Don't have all the bits and pieces. So I still play a little guitar and I listen to a lot of podcasts, but thankfully I have a very, 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 very chilled wife who I get to spend lots of time with. And to be honest, right now, that is the best downtime I can ask for.
Yeah, awesome. And are there any books that you've recently read or heard through audiobooks that you would recommend to our listeners?
So, yeah, both and the one book. So there's a guy called David Goggins. He is a known savage, US Marine, etc., etc. Now, if you don't like rah positivity, this isn't the book for you. If you like someone who's gone through hardship and then has an incredible outlook because of it, and that can give you some tips, then this is. So the book is called You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, but I would always suggest get the audiobook. Reason being, after each chapter, and I can't tell you, this guy goes through some serious stuff. So the chapters are pretty serious. But at the end of each chapter, they basically do a 5-minute podcast where they talk through with the author and the person it's written about that time in their life. And there's some wonderful little lessons that they give you in there, and just about mindset and positivity and how to keep going forward.
Yeah, kindred spirits. I second that. David Goggins, his story is phenomenal and super uplifting and super inspiring for sure. Are there any movies or TV shows that you've recently watched that you would recommend to our listeners?
I mean, how long you got? Good God. So, yeah, I mean, we've watched all the movies recently. I'm not just sure. I guess I'm going back a little bit now with TV shows and going for the classics. So I've slipped back into Sopranos because 2 reasons. One, the writing's phenomenal and is one of the first shows to be written across a season. So jokes that are made in episode 1 will show up in episode 5. Something that's very common now in streaming because everyone knows that you're going to watch 12 of them, but not back then. The second thing is that I love watching The Sopranos because I know that it changed HBO and it changed them from only releasing sport and comedy to actually investing in content. And now they're the guys who made, Sex and the Sea, Game of Thrones, all of your favorite things.
Yeah.
So right now, TV shows is Sopranos, and films. Might be too tough a question to answer.
It is. That's a hard one for me too. So I'll take you off the hook for that one. No worries. Finally, where can people go to find out more about you and your business?
I appreciate that. So to find me and myself, and I'm any of the things I've brought up today, I'm more than happy to discuss on a personal level. Amyr and I, we met on Instagram, I think, or maybe LinkedIn. Good conversation, and now good things happening. So please feel free to get in touch with me personally, and that is Jay Ludgrove, so JayLudgrove, or contact my company, and that's GLProUK, GLProUK, and that's across all the platforms.
Yeah, and for the benefit of our listeners, I'll make sure that I add those resources to the show notes.
Marvelous.
Jay, thank you for joining us here on the Inside Kingston podcast. It's been a pleasure getting to know your story.
Thank you, Amyr. Really appreciate it.
That wraps up another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Make sure to check out our guests' website, pay them a visit, and help spread the word about what they're doing. If you have any questions or know someone who should be a guest on the show, please feel free to get in touch. I would also love it if you could go to iTunes and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We work hard to bring on some great guests, and getting a review from you is one way to help the podcast rate well on iTunes so that others can find and enjoy the show too. Thanks for listening.